Now this is every meathead's first lift of choice. It's the first big lift that we can begin to move weight off the ground and try to showcase a little bit of strength. When I was 21-year-old, I deadlifted 405 for the first time, but looking back, I looked like a dog taking shit in a yard. My back was probably about as rounded as something could get, and I don't know how my spine stayed together with that weight. Needless to say, things have improved since then, but right now we're gonna talk specifically about fixing some deadlifts. There are just endless amounts of variations of a deadlift that can be used in all forms of strength training, but regardless of the variation, it's still one of the most recognizable lifts in the gym. Now, I'm not about to sit here and preach to you the do's and don'ts of a deadlift. Everybody's gonna have their own unique form. You watch an experienced lifter lift, he's gonna have one style of deadlift and one way that he sets up on the bar. And if you watch an inexperienced lifter do 10 deadlifts, they're gonna have 10 different setups and 10 different lifts. What I will say that has emphatically, drastically, just ultimately improved not only my deadlift, but every athlete I work with here at Derby City Barbell or the remote clients we work with at Average Joe Strength. The simple fact that is a consistent setup for the athlete. Bringing a mental checklist with you to that bar before you lift it off the ground. I bet if I ask you right now, write down your mental checklist of everything that you go through before you lift a bar, I guarantee you have to stop and think about what it is. Dude, this works for me and a lot of athletes that I've trained in my gym. It may not work for you, but hopefully it gives you a mindset of what I go through before a lift. I don't just do this for deadlifts. I do this for cleans, snatches, anytime I'm lifting, even bench press, back squat, everything I do, I have a mental checklist. I usually start from the feet going up, making sure everything's in line, and the more you practice this, the more it starts to happen organically, and you don't have to think about it and overanalyze every single lift. But it is a starting point that all lifters should have. We're not talking about pulling the weight off the ground, we're just talking about the setup, what I do when I approach the bar, what I teach athletes to try to work on when they're approaching the bar, and how to tweak it in certain little ways to benefit them. We're not gonna go over every single detail of a deadlift. The point of the matter is I have a checklist for my deadlift. I have a checklist for my snatch, my clean and jerk, bench press, strict press, push up, everything I do, I have a checklist. Now, 20 years plus of training, I've done so many reps and failures and found out what works for me, everything's fine. The point of the story is, guys, make sure you have a mental checklist for your lift. Everybody should have one. If not, you're kind of just going through the motions and there's no consistency to your training. Consistency and efficiency is how we build growth. Especially the style of programming I like to use for myself and my athletes is some linear periodization. So the more controlled variables you have, the better the training can be. So I'm not telling you to use my style of deadlifting, my setup, my approach, my mental checklist at all. Hopefully this just gets your wheels turning to make a mental checklist on your approach on a barbell, whether it's deadlift, bench press, whatever that may be, guys. We're just using deadlift for an example. But as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the gym.